What's up, buddies, and welcome into the Playmakers Blueprint. I'm your girl, Bria Goss, and this is a podcast where we get to focus on crafting champions and shaping leaders. And I am clearly not in my normal set today, and I usually have a guest, but we are switching things up. I'm in Maryland, visiting some family, so I'm using my cousin's studio. Don't forget to check her out. Millennials in Charge. Okay. And also, we're talking about a topic today that really hits home for me. And so, what better way than to introduce it myself? So, let's get right into it. I also won't be doing a bio because I'm way too humble for that. Okay. But check your girl out. The list is endless. Okay. So, let's get right into it. So, the topic that I'll be talking about today is resilience. And I can confidently say I am a resilient person. I also want you guys to know that I'm a very blessed person. Okay, there are people who are handling things that are far worse than what I have ever experienced. But through basketball, it has taught me to and how to be resilient, and then continue and transfer that over into my career. Okay, so first things first, what is resilience? Okay, person or animal able to withstand or recover quickly from a difficult situation or difficult conditions. Okay. And again, I have been able to say that I am very blessed because of all the accolades and the health of my family, my health. There's always been a roof over my head. Finances have always been straight for the most part and climbing. Okay. So please know that the things that I talk about today and how we can implement that into our everyday life is just from the skill of basketball and my own personal experiences. Okay, so first of all, I've been playing basketball since I was 4 years old. And I have always been a person that, worked hard and laughed a lot, smiled a lot. I was coachable. I had an older sister who used to bully me on the court. And so because of her, I mean, that's when I really started to really dive in. She loved the games and I wanted to be like her. And so I saw her work ethic and how consistent she was, how disciplined she was. And shoot, even when we would play one-on-one, she was blocking my shots every chance she got. I would come running in the house, because I was so torn up with just how much she would bully me. So shout out to D. If it wasn't for Bria Goss, Dr. Tucker now, I don't know if I would be up here and play the sports that I did. So shout out to you. But fifth grade, I feel like, is when I really started to get serious with basketball. I think that's really when things started to pick up and I started to really enjoy and love the game. And I felt like I was pretty good. I had the opportunity to play up with my sister and play 2 years older in a group with 2 years older who were bigger, faster, stronger. So I got some really good guard play with them. Then I'll go back down to my age group and I'd actually be the post. So I was able to get kind of both skills and really just kind of see where I could flourish. So fast forward to high school, had some really good success in high school. I was fortunate enough to play with some really, really hardworking, loving girls that just competed. They just knew how to compete, and we would compete with each other. We grew up together, so we all were familiar with each other's games. So we were able to win 2 back-to-back state championships. And honestly, we have the longest win streak in the country. Look us up, at Davis Girls Basketball. But even to that point, I only lost 3 high school games my whole career. So shout out to me and my other compadres in my class that got to experience that. That was pretty special for us. But from there, I was McDonald's All-American, WBC All-American, and went on to play at the University of Kentucky. And from there, or actually while I was there, SEC Freshman of the Year, part of the SEC freshman team. We won the SEC championship. We got to some Elite Eights. So, like I said, the list goes on. But clearly a lot of success with basketball. Went over to play in Finland my first year. Shout out to my Finnish sisters. Played in Israel, Slovakia, Romania, Sweden, and Poland. And shout out to my Swedish sisters who actually just won the championship over there. Congratulations, girls. And so yeah, so I played for about 10 years, about good 9 seasons overseas, of just consistent play, and made a lot of friends along the way, and just again super blessed. And here now, turning the leaf over. Well, actually, when I was in Romania, I started doing some broadcasting, which I knew that was going to be my passion. A lot of people go into coaching and training. I didn't see that as my passion as being a player. I think the way that I give back is my love of the sport and being able to talk about it, and being able to maybe explain it to people who don't always understand the game, or hype up players who don't always see the spotlight and things. So I think I've been doing a great job in that. So that started about 2020. I went to the Fever training camp and made some really good connections there. Unfortunately, didn't make the team, but the way God works, okay, He already ordered these steps, because although I didn't make the team, the next year they called back asking if I had some interest in broadcasting for them. So that started my broadcasting career. And I've always been the one, while I was overseas, that I want to be able to just translate right over to the next thing. Just transfer from this to this as smooth as possible. And although basketball kind of stopped in a way that I wasn't 100% ready for, and broadcasting looked a little different, it's been a pretty smooth transition. So I'm very happy and blessed with that as well. So here we are to today. So resilience, and where resilience started to come in. I would say resilience started to really hit and pick up when I was probably in high school. I think I was in high school, and again, we came with a lot of success in high school. Um, but the way that we competed, and the way that our Coach Dan Binge, would push us, you had to level up or you were going to get left behind. So that's when I started to feel like that resilience and resiliency would start to be in me, just for the simple fact that, like, we had to figure it out. If we didn't, we were going to get left behind. So how was I able to work through? How was I able to push through different situations, not only in practice, but you still had to go to school, you still had family stuff. Like, there were so many things going on that you had to make sure that you were focused and ready to go every single day. Okay? And if you weren't, you better leave that day behind you and then push forward. Okay? I'm so happy that I had the support system that I had, because it would not have been able to be possible. Now, even though we had a lot of success, resilience, my freshman year, we did not win. And I think that fueled the fire to continue to get better. So we had to figure out a way, and we couldn't dawn on that. Even though we felt those feelings that time, we had to be resilient so that we could get better the next year, and we ended up winning. And not only did we end up winning, we won a state championship and a national championship. We were undefeated, and it was just through and through such a great lesson to learn, because I saw what resilience can do for you. Okay, and life be life. And it's hard in the basketball sense. There's so many great players. There's so many good things, but being able to come back and really say, "I did that." Like we did that. Um, was really special to us. It was just part of our own individual journey. And I really needed to learn those skills, especially going into college where, again, everybody's good. Everybody was good. I was playing the SEC, which had some really good talent. I was on a really good team. Um, and so I had to be resilient in a way of, things weren't always going to go my way. So how was I going to respond to those? And honestly, a big thing about me too is I respond in a way that it's difficult to even know that I'm going through tough situations. And that's because I made a decision to make sure my attitude was right. I can't always control what happens to me, but I can control how I react to those things. And so that's what I think my family has instilled in me, my coaches, my teammates, and just that whole resilience package. That's a part of it too. You can be resilient, and still hold your head down and still have a really bad attitude and be really upset or depressed or anxious about situations. But I've chosen to, even though I know these bad things have happened or are going to happen, how am I going to get through that in the best way that I know how? And that's with the positive attitude and with my faith at the forefront. Okay. Um, so I will say this: I have never had a major injury, God, with basketball. I no ACLs, no breaks and tears, no nothing. And that alone is, I'm very fortunate for that. For the simple fact of we know that injuries are a part of the game. But thank God I have not, went through those. However, seeing some of my good friends go through that, I felt like I was able to kind of feed off of their resiliency as well. They didn't wake up, wanting to tear their ACL that day, but they did. And the way that they responded was so pivotal to me for the simple fact that I'll tell you this: one of my really good friends, okay, one of my best friends, she tore her ACL the first time our freshman year of high school, and so was out the whole rest of the season of basketball. And then played soccer her sophomore year, and then tore it again and missed another season of basketball. So, but seeing how she was able to take those injuries, and not let them define her, and then came back even stronger and more powerful, more headstrong. Was like that. That's things that I was able to feed off from her. So shout out to you, Hunter. Um, but like she really did put that into me as well. Like I was able to take her experience and kind of feed off of that. Another example would be, I mean, my dad, and not to put his business out there, but he got laid off when I was in college, and just kind of seeing how both of my parents worked through that difficult time. He was laid off for a while, struggling to find a job, but he never let that hinder or show in a way that fed off negative energy to me. He was very upfront of, hey, like he couldn't control that happened, but the way he showed his resilience in that way was I was able to learn from that and get better from that as well. So it's not always something that happens to you as a person, but who around you might have been struggling during a difficult time and was able to, keep the focus and be headstrong and withstand some of those difficulties and be better for it. So as I continued basketball, and again, you have hard days, hard practices, hard test days, and things. And being resilient isn't one of those things where you could just wake up and get it. You have to practice it. You have to be able to make up your mind and say, I'm going to get through this, even though my journey might look a little different, or success might be looking like this. As long as you get to that top, you'll have that resilience attitude, and I think you'll be so much better for it. We so often like to blame why things don't happen, right, or why things didn't happen. Oh, I want to go to the WBA, that didn't happen. Oh, the WBA is rigged and they're political. And listen, God had other plans. Okay, if I try to reach for the stars, and there's no bumps in the road, I can't really fully appreciate the journey. So reaching for the stars, I'm still going to get to the sky. I can still look down like, I didn't get here, but I'm pretty content with where I'm at. Not a lot of people can say that. So I was very, very happy with how my basketball career as a whole was, from when I started to when I finished. Lots of success, lots of heartbreaks, lots of failures, but a lot of growth. Okay. So just translating that into my everyday life and my career now. So as you know, there's no secret. I think it was so pivotal to learn how to be resilient through sports, because it helped me tremendously when I was battling cancer. Okay. And just the rundown. When I was overseas in Finland for my rookie season, we were playing so well. I had a great group of girls. And come February, I started my cycle just like any month. And I bled for the entirety of that whole month, which I don't know why I didn't go to the doctor sooner. On day 8, I should have went to the doctor. But I did it, and I was overseas, and I'm very much, I don't want to be too much. I don't want to ask too much. I don't want to, I'm never hurt. So I didn't want to become a problem. So I didn't say anything. And so I'm bleeding, and it's not like a light bleed. I am bleeding heavily every single day for a good 28 days straight. And At the beginning of March, I could barely go to practice because I was so exhausted, like losing blood every single day. My hemoglobin level was small. So um, I thought I was out of shape. So during that time, I was going to the gym more, trying to figure out how I can get back in shape because somehow, some way, I have gotten out of shape and could barely go up and down a couple times without feeling like I couldn't breathe or whatever. So, and also during games, I had to change two or three times during timeouts because I was gonna bleed through. So, a lot going on. Super far from home, but very very difficult. Um, time. So it's again at the beginning of March, I was having unbearable cramps to where I finally caved in, and I just texted my general manager, who I still love to this day, and I just asked her if we can go to the hospital because I did not feel good. And this was at like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And she answered. She heard me. She picked me up within 5 minutes. So she was very concerned, and so she took me to the hospital, and we waited a little bit in the waiting room, and I was experiencing some excruciating pain and cramps that I had never felt before, and the painkillers weren't helping. So, when they finally took me back, they did an ultrasound and they saw something and they were quiet and they weren't exactly sure if it was a baby that I had. I was like, oh, that's not it. I wasn't pregnant. They were like, well, do you think you lost the baby? I was like, still no, wasn't active. So, she was really confused, but when it came down, she was making measurements and things, and she disclosed that it was a fibroid and how common that was in African American women. It was a little strange that I was so young and I had it. I was, fresh out of college. I had just turned 23, and so. So very, very difficult, but was able to help and navigate through that, and she gave me some painkillers and things, and told kind of how we were going to, um, what our plan of action was going to be. So, fast forward just a little bit, I wasn't able to finish the season. I told the girls, and I had an uncle that came out and helped me through that time. It was during the end of the season anyway, but I just went home early and I missed the playoffs, and unfortunately the team didn't win. But I went home that summer and was getting treatment to shrink the fibroids so that they could go in and not have any real complications to my uterus itself. And that whole summer, we were focusing on that. And then by the end of the summer, it was time to go back overseas. So went back overseas to the same team in Finland. We won a championship. We did great. I wasn't in any pain. And that was my first championship as a pro, I would like to say as well. Well, when I got back, I went to the doctor and that it was actually bigger than what they had found it originally. So that wasn't great. However, I went and saw another specialist, and he told me, that he could go in there without shrinking it, and it should be, a quick in and out surgery, and little to no real scarring of the uterus or real, and that was really what I was worried about. So we were able to get that through. So here I am, 24 years old, and go back and forth from the doctors. And when it was time to go get my surgery, it was a very clean surgery, came out. So I heard from him about a week later, and he said that he sent a piece of the fibroid to the lab, and it actually came back cancerous. Okay, and so that changed the whole course of what our original plan was. It was going to come back more aggressive. It was going to come back, period. And it was probably going to be a little bit less manageable. So it was time to make the decision of having a full hysterectomy. I'm talking fallopian tubes, uterus, the whole nine. So as a 24-year-old kid, you're trying to um, you're trying to understand what the doctor is telling you, and you're trying to um, figure out how this could happen too. And it wasn't fair to blame God in that sense. But it did feel like God was punishing me off rip. I think that was probably the easiest way to say it is I felt like I was being punished, or felt like this was my fault, and I felt like I could have prevented this had I not done this, that, and the other. And so it was a lot of blame and guilt in that too, along with, more surgery, along with cancer, along with history. Like all these words were just making me feel like I was broken in a way that was, I say, unusual. I feel like I'm a very confident person, at that point. And so when I heard that, I was like, I'm damaged. Like I am damaged. So all those feelings are what I felt, at the forefront. So I went back to the doctor, and like a couple days after that, and he said that I could preserve my eggs if I was between day 3 and day 5 of my cycle, in which I had been. So it was perfectly lined up that I was, because they needed to get back into surgery pretty quickly. So it was about a 2 week. It was about a 2 week shots procedure where I had to give myself shots 3 times, 3 different shots a day for 2 weeks to really conserve those eggs. And thank God, I mean, hate needles, but did the 3 shots for the 2 weeks. They went in, did the procedure, and they were able to get 42 eggs. So that was really good, and still frozen to this day. And I need to figure this out because those things are expensive. Whew. So after that, I went on, and about a week after that surgery I had, or that procedure, that's when I needed my major surgery, and I actually went and talked to another specialist in that, and so she did a fantastic job. They were able to get in there, and there was no problems, no complications. Um, I probably spent a day, maybe two, into the hospital after, but the recovery, was pretty. It wasn't that much time for recovery, and honestly, I was so focused on just getting back to basketball at that point. I was going to go over to Israel, so it was a later season, so that worked out. But I needed to, figure out. Actually, what? I didn't try to figure out um, how to heal from that. I just want to move on. I shut all those feelings down. I was like, I'm not getting a family. I'm not going to be a mother. That's not what God had for me for whatever reason. And it is what it is. Like I was kind of shutting that part of me off in a way that I didn't need to feel those feelings. I didn't need to um, heal from that. It's just better to just act as if it never happened and just kind of move on. I didn't take anybody seriously, especially myself. um, and I didn't want anybody to know that I was hurting, because everyone that was so, used to, this up tempo, upbeat, loving, smiling Bria. And so, how could I get to that as soon as possible? And so I didn't handle it right, and I wasn't being resilient. I didn't face, what I was feeling. I didn't want to think about it. It didn't happen. We don't need to talk about it. Even with the great support that I had, it wasn't a thing. So I just didn't. And so when I was overseas, I've never felt that level of um, emptiness, feeling like not a lot mattered was so temporary that when I did decide to finally, turn the lights back on and start loving myself again, I put all that to the forefront of how empty I actually was, and how broken and damaged and unworthy and ugly I was. And I had all those feelings while still being as positive as I could be. Um, but honestly, that's not what resilience looked like. That terrible situation was able to consume so much of me that, or that difficult situation had so much power over me, that I couldn't be. Bria. Saying that I lost myself during that situation makes me sad because I didn't put myself first and I didn't talk about what I might have needed during that. And I was struggling so much and I didn't feel like anybody could ever understand. And that's just not true. So when I decided to turn these lights back on and I just started to go and get the help that I needed and talk to a therapist and communicate how I was feeling, and I needed to turn those lights back on, so I had to start feeling what I felt in that moment, and I felt like it was so bad. It was so bad for the simple fact that all that had been brewing inside of me for so long, and so I didn't like, who was staring back at me in the mirror. Um, and I had to figure out how to love that person again. So, with crazy amount of hours of therapy and prayer, I think being able to isolate myself in a way um, that I needed at that time really, really helped me get over the hump of I'm still beautiful, I'm still worthy, I'm still powerful. I'm more than a baby maker. I'm still deserving of love and success and good things and a husband and kids and whatever the case may be. Like, I didn't think that at one time, and now I do, because God put me in a situation that it was just him and I. And he showed me the resilience that I needed to get through that. Um, And so when I started loving myself again and actually genuinely smiling and genuinely being Bria Goss, that resilient factor shines so bright, because if I can get through that during that time like that, I can get through anything. It doesn't, it literally does not matter, because I'm gonna get through it. I'm so tough. I'm so tough that I can't let anything have that kind of power over me anymore. So what, I lost a job, that's all right. I'll feel those feelings in the moment and they'll be right back. I didn't get picked up by a team, that's all right. I'll be back. It might be a little different, city league. um, but I didn't. I'm still single as a 32-year-old woman. That's okay, because I'll get it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm very much. I'm on a path where God has shown me what He can do, that it just doesn't matter, the stuff that I can't control. How can I be a better person? How can I love on others? How can I be there for my friends and family? um, what does it look like to be a role model? How can I give back? Like, what are the things that can make me grow, and how can I become more like Christ, or who he planned to be? And that's the thing, I was so focused on my own plans instead of his plan for me. And now that I'm there, it's kind of like, if it ain't God's way, then I'm not doing it. And so, being resilient saved me. It just did. That was supposed to break me. The devil had that out for shame. I felt shameful for that, and I'm not. So I'm so happy that I was able to learn, what that looked like, because if I didn't, ain't no telling where I would be. And so staying on top of, who I am and feeding my mental has been so important. And then also loving on others for who they are. So that is what resilience has meant to me. So, in my career, I'm not where I want to be at. And as you know, I'm broadcasting and podcasting, and I'm not there yet, but I will. I don't know when. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I have so many things in my bag. I've been hosting, I've been emceeing, I've been sideline reporting. I'm going ready to be on the radio. Like, there are things in my bag that something's going to click. Somebody will see what I am worth, and it's just going to take off. And the faith that I have in that, and in myself, and in God, it's unwavering. And so I'm okay with being patient, and I'm okay with tearing down some of these walls so I can get to where I need to go. And if I'm not doing that, or if I'm not trying to better myself or be the best person I can be, or dress for the part that I want and not the part that I have, that's resilience. I'm resilient, and I love that about me. I'm so much tougher than what I look like. I know I look tough. And I love that about myself. It took me some time to get there, but we got there and we're here. And I love you for it. So I'm gonna leave you guys with this. Bad things happen, but we gonna get through it. Lean on your support system. Don't go through things alone. Be resilient in a way that you're so unstoppable and untouchable that when these bad things happen, because they will, it's inevitable. We're all going to suffer at some point. But turn to God. Love yourself through it. Know that it's going to be okay. Put yourself in the best situations possible. And I want to say that again. Love yourself through it. Be resilient. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another episode of the Playmakers Blueprint. I'm your girl, Bria Goss. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I can't wait to hear your thoughts about this episode. But we are nearing the end of the first season, so don't forget to give me a follow and that subscribe button. Toodles!
Thank you for tuning in to the Playmakers Blueprint. You can catch me every Monday at 6 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. Catch you next week.